Today's comics market is ripe with new titles by creators who are determined to get their books into your hands. My name is Onrie. For the last decade, I've been making and selling my own creator-owned comics. My signature series, Shin, is the book that cannot be defeated in battle and has over 250,000 copies in print. Now I'm taking comics to the next level and laying the groundwork for my fellow creators to get their voices heard so they can connect directly with you. This is your chance to engage live with top comic book talent and get your comics signed without having to wait in long lines or pay any fees. But remember, we only have a limited amount of their books in stock, so always remember to call it as you see it. You're watching Virtual Signings with Onrie, the live event show. Hey, welcome back to Virtual Signings with Onrie. I'm your host, Onrie Compen. It is so great to be here with you guys. Cora, how you doing, my darling? Good to see you. Folks who have ordered stuff from us over the last week and a half and have paid up their stuff, your stuff is packaged up and ready to go. As soon as this episode is done airing, it's all being shot out from, and I don't know what kind of gesture I was just doing there. It's all being shot out into the USPS mailing system, and we'll hopefully get to you guys in no time. Mr. Mike James Bankston, I got a nice big box for you, buddy. You've been holding up, and I also got a big box for our special guest for today, who is somebody that I have known for a very long time in comics, and someone I have a tremendous amount of respect for because he is not only is he a comics creator, but he's a huge advocate for comics. And what he does by supporting other creators with his own shows and with his comics is it makes a tremendous impact on what we do, and it's inspiring, and it's a huge honor and pleasure to bring him onto the show today. So please welcome Mr. Joe Mcfee.
Hello, everybody.
Are
we going to do it?
We're going to do it, man.
Let's celebrate by the Russian dance here.
Yeah, you got a Russian dance. We got to do it. Hey. And it's real. Yeah. It's real because we're both sitting.
Opa.
There you go. Hey, you watch it. You Greek freaks. And I love Greek people, so I'll just let you know that was just slipped out on accident. But we got Mr. Moore here. He's on the beach right now, but able to still catch this because it's major. Long time coming to see us chop it up, and I agree, it is.
Exactly.
Mr. Mcfee, I have learned so much about you based on your taste in comics, and I'm hoping to learn even more about you as we talk about your series. I've read a few of the first issues of Amazonia, and you've sent me a lot of stuff here. And I figured maybe the best thing for you is to kick off by telling our beloved audience what your book is about. And, you've also shared your screen so we can see some of the stuff you're currently working on. But let's kick it off with, give us the pitch for Amazonia and tell us a little bit about, how you came about it and everything.
Well, Amazonia is about a female police officer. Well, I shouldn't start like that. Let's start more along the lines like this. Suppose she was like a wallflower, and not going to do it that way either. Pretty much, it is an adventure. It's a character-driven series about Elisa Masters, who is returning back to her hometown after 7 years. And the reason why she was gone for 7 years is because during her high school prom, she was arrested for murder, or supposedly so here. Now, I could run you a trailer that explains it a little bit better, but I'm not. But
you're more than welcome to. This is your time, brother. I mean, and you know what? We're here right now to give folks a chance to get acquainted with the work you're doing, and I love trailers. I take a great amount of joy and pride in constructing them myself, and giving you guys free giveaways like winning a date with the free Russian woman. Hey.
But as I was saying here, so she went away because of the simple fact that she was accused of murder and that she got acquitted from because they actually found out what actually agitated that situation. But because of her size and her powers, they forced her into a government organization to help her train her to use her powers and everything. And after being a superhero for 7 years, she decides that she wanted to have a normal life. So she came back to her hometown, hoping that the people forgot about most of the stuff and to really, deal with just being herself. However, she finds out that the city is being pretty much up under the control of this business mogul who has his hands in everything. And the one major goal that he has left to do is to destroy her father. So, in the first story arc of Amazonia, we're dealing with that aspect of how this maniacal madman is trying to destroy her father as Elisa is trying to reestablish herself in her hometown of Angel Falls. But why not allow the video here and trying to find it again?
Yeah, no worries. And another thing I'd like to add to that from what I've read so far, there's also a lot of tension in the environment that she comes into as a police officer, because like her boss is he's a piece of work, and
Yeah, the boss is. It's like you don't know who's really for this business mogul. Like her captain is actually is one of those people who is pretty much, as you're going to find out later, is not really like on the take like most people would be, but he's actually was blackmailed.
Oh, really?
That comes out later on in the series.
Yeah, so it's not everything is as it seems, and you know what? That's the making of a great story right there. When you think it's heading one way, and then all of a sudden, you take a nosedive off a cliff, or you take a sudden turn. Think you're going to go left, but you go right. That's what it's all about.
Not just left, U-turn.
U-turn, yes, exactly. You know what?
Like
You know what movie had the best U-turn experience ever? Mad Max Fury Road. Like for 45 minutes, they drove one way, and then in the second half of the movie, they just turned around and went all the way back. Just saying. All right, you got your trailer up? There we go.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Check out. Let me go back and start it. Let me know when you're ready.
I am ready now. Keep going. Joe, I think the volume here is not.
It's very working. Okay. Hold on. Yeah. It's at 100%. I have 100%. To see why it's not sharing the volume here.
But you guys are getting a good look at the artwork as well. And Joe, another thing you can do for me between now and when we get on the EXP is you can send me the actual video, and I can have Kyle upload it, and we can play it whenever you like. Yeah. And again, if you wanna post the link, is this up on YouTube by any chance?
No, video? This one is not. This one is not on YouTube. I don't think so.
Okay.
This one is on YouTube.
Okay. Right on. All right. Well, we'll figure it out, and I'd be more than happy to share this. And I could see that you put a lot of work into this. So, you told us what the series is about. Now, how did you get into this? Like, what made you decide that this is the route you wanted to pursue as a comic book creator?
Well, it wasn't just a route. It was just more along the lines. During that time, I was helping a buddy of mine work on his animation degree, and he was needing some help with storyboarding. I kind of picked up storyboarding really, really quick, and I was helping him out with like student films and stuff to that magnitude. And we got to a point where it's like we were starting back doing the whole artist alley scene for many different conventions between like 2004 until maybe like 2010 when he started to fall off and had to deal with life in general here. But we were doing the artist alley routes, and people were asking about, it's like, hey, have you actually done comics and this, that, and the other? So he had ideas that he wanted to develop. I had ideas that I wanted to develop. Amazonia happened to be one of them. But actually, to be quite honest with you, Amazonia is actually a spin-off series to another one that I have not released as of yet.
Interesting. So this is something I'm always curious about, because you're a creator that not only writes his own book, but he also draws it. He he does everything. You're publishing. Joe is self-made and self-working, honestly. So you do everything from the writing to the lettering. It all goes through you. So why take on this huge undertaking? I mean, it must take you a really long time just to put out one issue of your book.
Yes, it does, but it's worthwhile because of how it actually started. Because I actually went out to start looking for artists and everything. And then when I told them about the story, a lot of people didn't take to it. And that was during a time where, late 90s, early 2000s, people are still, in the whole image craze and, all this artwork and stuff. And I'm up here trying to do something that's more character driven. And people's interest was like so diversified that they didn't see the story for what it was and how good the actual story was. So after having either artists trying to overcharge me to do the work or just having no interest in it, I just gave up on trying to find somebody else to do it. I just went ahead and did it myself.
My man. So
that's how much I felt about the story at the time.
But that's all like, grabbing the bull by the horns. Now, how much of these skills did you actually have before that? I mean, because, sometimes our ideas and our execution are two different things. Like, what was your hope? Like, if in a perfect world, what would you have done? Would you have just done the writing, or would you have done the writing and the art?
I would have preferred just to do like the writing and editing of it. Let somebody else do the penciling and the inking. The lettering I didn't have a problem with because I have done calligraphy before, so that part didn't bother me as much. But getting the artwork and the penciling and the inking was the major key things. And now I'm still trying to improve my coloring skills. I still don't color. That's the one thing that I don't do. I don't color. Coloring is an art form within itself, just like inking was. Inking, I'm slowly getting used to, so I'm understanding the do's and don'ts of it, at least the basics of it, enough to actually do that part on my own.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I gotta say is it takes a lot of guts to actually say, I'm gonna do all these things and learn them, whether I know it or not. I'm gonna figure it out. And I see you. You're always posting stuff about the progress you're making, and you're learning little steps. And to put yourself out there like that is not an easy thing to do. That is probably one of the hardest things. But now here's another question for you. So, okay, in an ideal world, it doesn't matter, because here's the reality. You did do it by yourself. And how good did it feel when you got that first issue out?
It felt good. Now that one that you have in your hand is not that's not the actual first Amazonia issue.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's the 5th anniversary edition that Comixology made me do when they accepted Amazonia into to their library, and they was distributing it for digital purposes.
Interesting.
Now, I know I gave you copies of the 10th anniversary one.
So
if you could grab that real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. The 10th anniversary. I got them all here.
Yeah, it should be like a 10th anniversary #1 Amazonia that I know that you have. I could have sworn I gave you a couple of copies of that.
It's hiding somewhere. Give me just one second.
Hold on, I could grab one.
Oh, he's got it right here, folks.
Okay. Now, if you don't have it. So
I didn't. I was hoping you got it.
No, I have it right here. Like I said, I came prepared with some of the alternate covers that you don't have that I know I didn't send to you as of yet here. That's the number 4.
And look at this, folks. He's got everything perfectly organized over here, and that's
now.
commitment.
Now, just to let you guys know that this is one of the blank cover versions of the 10th anniversary one. So hold up the one that you have there.
I got it right here, man.
So that's how the 5th anniversary one looked. I actually started out like this. That's the actual cover for the original Amazonia number 1.
That's the one. I have
that's the one that Onrie has. That's no longer in print.
It's no longer in print, and it's not for sale. Ah! All right, there we go.
And it's like night and day difference as far as the artwork is concerned here. But that's how I actually started out. I it's like I put my best effort forward, and trust and believe a lot of people crapped on it. They really did. It's like it's not professional enough. You don't know what you're doing. Everything is not, up to snuff and everything to that magnitude, but I kept plugging away at it. Now, I do have other creators that always get on me about calling myself a D-rated artist. And it comes from that stigma. It's like nobody really went through the process that I have to develop the way that I have. I didn't stop at drawing stuff the way that I did the original number 1. I kept growing and progressing in my skills. I will be the first one to tell you, I am not a Jim Lee. So don't expect Jim Lee artwork. Don't expect Brian Polito artwork. Don't even expect any of the great artworks for that from me as of yet. I got to work my way towards that. But when you buy the Amazonia book, you're going to see that evolution as that artwork growth comes into fruition to help match up with the story that I'm telling. And the longer people stuck with it, the more pleased that they are with the story. And I'm a firm believer that the art has to match the writing, which has to match the inking. Everything has to be a perfect marriage to make that story work. That was the major key thing that I learned in my whole journey as a professional publisher over this decade. If everything is not in perfect harmony, there's a lot more work to be done to make that story that much more better.
I agree with that. And, hearing this from you is extremely encouraging and inspiring for one reason and one reason only. What I love hearing about your story is when people told you what they thought, you just kept on going. I'm sure you took some feedback and, ran with it and said, look, this is what it's going to be. But you're teaching yourself how to draw. You're teaching yourself how to do so many things. And this is something you don't see in comics often, right? Because everybody always comes in wearing their best suit. And I'll be the first to admit that that's how I do comics. I mean, with Yushin Shin, I always try and come out with the big guns. I hired the artists. I did all that stuff. And, that's one way of going about it. What I respect so much about how you're going about it is that you're saying, you know what? I'm going to come in and do it my way. And I don't care if it's perfect or if it's not. And you know what? There's something to be said about that. There's a lot to be said about that because you're allowing your story to be told by you 100%. It is 100% you. And I'll tell you what, Joe, every book has a style. Every book has a feeling, and some of the weirdest, coolest books have some of the most odd art styles that, Marvel and DC would probably never hire or pick up. But here's the thing. I don't take you as somebody who was trying to make comics for Marvel or DC, because if that was the case, we'd be having a very different conversation right now. But, you wanted to focus on doing what you wanted to do for comics. And I've gotten to know you over the past year very well, because you're one of our biggest patrons, and I pay attention to the comics you're buying, and you're no dummy when it comes to comics. The stuff that you pick out and the knowledge, the wellspring of knowledge you have about comics is incredible. You know, not a lot of people have that understanding that you do. I mean, you're up there, and you know, I can see even in your early work, you know, with Amazonia, that you're constantly taking things that you learn from the comics you're reading and picking up. So how do you how did you get into comics in the first place? That's something I want to know. I know you read G.I. Joe, so you know.
Well, that was mainly because of as a kid, I didn't have all that much of a good reading comprehension. So they was always trying to force me to read, force me to read, force me to read. So they would always try to find all these different novels and stuff to that magnitude, you know, things like Sports Illustrated, just to get me to read more stuff until they got me to comic books. And once I started in the comic book route, I started reading more and started reading more and started retaining more. So that aspect of my comic book background is one aspect, but the art and the writing aspect came a lot later. It came into high school, not into high school, after dealing with all of these different English teachers and dealing with people who were telling me that pretty much rote memory is always better than being expressive, meaning that meaning in the aspect when you're told to write an essay about something that you read, you're always supposed to spot out the same stuff that the teacher expects you to put that's there that was stated by them, as opposed to taking your own interpretation on it. So I had a hard time in high school dealing with that. So the way that I had my outlet was art. So I started to reflect more about the comics in high school and started drawing more of the comic book type stuff and started developing my own comic books back then. Now, mind you, I lost all my older stuff in a flood that happened in this house that I'm at right now. So all my older stuff from like high school destroyed. So you can understand how I felt about that. But normally dealing with Amazonia, when fast forward past my military service, I got into college and I
Military?
started.
You were in the military?
Mm-hmm.
What branch of the military?
Air Force, United States Air Force.
I had no idea you were in the military, bro.
Mm-hmm. I had
You
2 years.
were.
I had 2 years Air Force. 2 years in the Air Force. Actually went to United States Air Force Academy for one semester.
You know what you deserve? You deserve a free trip to Russia, man. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just a. You saw the video, right? From the so okay, so you were in the military too. So you brought that. Did you bring those experiences with you into your comics work? Because I see
some of it, yes. Especially for the series that I have not published, for Last Line of Defense, yes. I have brought some of the aspects of what I learned there. Not a problem here, Mike. Not a problem. I don't really bring it up all that much because you'd be surprised how many comic book creators came from the military.
I had no
outlet. There's an outlet for us. It really was an outlet for us because while I was there, people while I was in the Air Force didn't know that I draw until I actually started sketching.
Really?
Yeah, it's like I sketched a few things while I was there, and people was like, yes. I was like, I had my copy of How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way and kept sketching while I was servicing, I kept.
Who needs a copy of that? I don't know if you ever saw the video online, but someone did you ever see that X-Men cover? It's a variant cover that was done by Rob Liefeld where Beast had 2 left feet. so someone responded and they're like, here, Rob, we're gonna send you a copy of How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way.
Wow.
Which is cold. And by the way, speaking of that book, there's an actual video of it, and that's actually I got turned on to that book. Was I got the video, and here's the thing with me and art. There's a reason why I don't draw. I don't draw because I don't have the patience for it. You are an extremely patient person because, like, and don't get me wrong, writing, you also, I mean, managing artists, you also have to be patient too. But, you know, just sitting in front of like the board for hours on end, drawing in every last detail, it's a lot of work. You know, and I draw layouts right now for Yisun Shin, and it's so much work. You know, you're just sitting there and you got to pick out the colors, you got to add, make dynamic layouts, and do all that kind of stuff. You know.
But the thing about it is, the reason why you have to have patience is because when you truly start drawing, you might draw one line 10 times before you'd be like, okay, let's move on to the next one.
Happens to me all the time. It's so, why can't you draw a straight freaking line? It's easy. You take this thing and you draw a straight line. You know, I always mess up with it.
See, and then after it's all said and done, you finally get it done. You look at it. I'm going to throw this away. I don't like it.
Oh, we got Jorge Cabral here, man. What's up, brother? Hey, this guy backed my Kickstarter, and actually, because of him, we have this Yisun Shin Bruce Lee image. So he got to pick it out. He was the lucky backer who put us over that. And I hope you got your package. By the way, he's out in Canada, so
okay.
hope everything's going well with you, buddy. But in the meantime, Joe, let's give people. We're doing a virtual signing here. That was the purpose of what we're doing. And I want to talk about what we got for sale here, because right now I have issues 1, 2, 3. Check out that cover. That's Terry Huddleston on the cover, right?
Right. Terry Huddleston was on the cover of issue 2, 3, and 4.
That's Terry Huddleston, guys. If you haven't seen him, he's a big deal in the comics game, especially.
That's me on issue. That's me on issue number 1 and 5. And which number 6 do you have in hand here? Okay,
Love
that's
it.
mine on issue number 6. Now, issue 4 and 6 have variant covers, but you could get the full set through Onrie right now for the low price of all 6.
All
Fine.
6.
All 6.
How much?
Fine. No,
All
I'm
6?
up here. You call it.
No, you call it, man. You gotta call it. This is all you, baby.
See, if I call it, I say you could get all 6 for. See, they're $3.50 a pop. I would say do all 6 for what? $25.
$25. They're all signed. Every book is signed. All 6. $25. Call it as you see it. We got you covered.
Showing the certificates.
And we got certificates of authenticity with every issue. And this is why you're paying $25, guys, because now you're getting.
You could charge more because I'm certifying that I actually signed it.
Yep. You are getting certified. We are certifying the demons. And this is what I find so impressive, Joe, is every time I've bought comics from you in the past, he's very diligent about how he does everything, very careful. He'll sign your book for you, and then he'll pull out the certificate. And guys, this is printed up on very nice paper.
Parchment paper.
What is it called? I'm sorry.
That's parchment paper.
Parchment paper. Yes, that's right. I'm still learning a lot about different papers, and I should be ashamed of myself, but that's why I have David Anthony Kraft to smack me upside the head and say, "This is parchment paper, you moron!" And basically,
and then he does his Stan Lee impression. He'd be like, "Jesus!"
Dan's in another room right now, and he's in a really bad mood. He got real ticked off on Wednesday, so he's just hanging out back there. He's not talking to anybody right now. He really didn't like when I brought out his Jewish counterpart, Stan Leibovich, Russian Jewish counterpart. Sorry,
right.
I'm Jewish. I could say that.
Yes,
Hey,
you can
mate!
say that. You can get away with it.
I get away with it. I could run with it. All right, so we got the certificate of authenticity isn't just coming with the first issue, folks. You're getting 6 of them with all 6 issues of Amazonia. So if you guys are interested at any point, and Joe and I are going to be talking about this, and we got plenty of sets here for everybody. We're going to do all 6 for 25, and you're getting COAs with every single one of them. They are all signed, and you're seeing an artist who is teaching himself every aspect of comics from the start to the finish. And what I find most impressive about this is the amount of effort and time and commitment that goes into this series. And we're going to talk about commitment right now, Joe, because you had mentioned that something pretty major happened to you when you put this book out here, which is also the first cover that you came back to after issue 4. So
issue 1, after issue 4, I came back to start drawing covers again. Now there's alternate covers that happen along the way. So like issue number 4 has a alternate cover, the variant cover, which was a C2E2 exclusive here. So we have the C2E2 2016 exclusive number 4, done by Adrian Adams, colored by Christine Brunson.
Beautiful. That is absolutely
beautiful.
And what are you doing that?
This one is a $20 cover.
That's a $20 cover?
I will sign it right now, make certain that you get a certificate with it, and send it directly to your door.
And
in
folks,
addition to that,
you guys call this right now, and you're gonna make and not only that, I'm gonna do 2 things for you. I'm gonna throw in something free for you guys. One of the 3 free things you can get when you're shopping with Onrie anytime, and Joe knows exactly what I'm talking about here. The first person who calls any of Joe's books gets an extra something for free from Onrie, and it's a reward that you can have right now that'll go with you till the end of time. It's really wonderful. So Joe, hold that cover up again.
Okay, this is issue 4.
And this is the C2E2 variant. So
yep. And we're not even done yet because I got custom covers for issue number 4.
Outstanding. Why don't feel free to show those up.
Elisa as Big Barter from DC Bombshell Girls that I drew at Keystone Comic Con in 2018.
Outstanding. That is awesome. And look, Joe, can you hold that up again? I just want to point
the Marilyn Monroe version of her. Okay. Oh, which
that
one?
Is beautiful. Hold both those up. Your art is an example of how Joe's art is constantly improving, and your coloring is like absolutely improving.
This is done with Prismacolor markers, so I feel a little bit more comfortable with that than for the digital artwork here.
Sure, it's extremely impressive.
You know, covers from 2017.
And these are all going for 20?
No, they're actually the custom covers are priced differently depending on
which one you want.
What happened with them here. Mm-hmm. Here's a C2 2021. This was one that I did at C2 in 2020 because C2E2 was the last show that anybody did in 2020. So this is Elisa as Elastigirl from Doom Patrol as Giganta. Cosplay of Jane Foster Thor. A Nubia one. And then we're going back to like DC Bombshell Girls of Big Barda. And this was done at Keystone Comic Con 2018.
Beautiful.
2019 custom cover as Elisa as Deanne the Serpent from Seven Deadly Sins. And now I'm about to really go tell my age here. We even got a a Total Drama Island cover, custom cover here for I think this is World Tour that I did for at Keystone Comic Con as her as Sierra from Total Drama.
That's awesome. That is absolutely that is incredible.
And the piece de resistance here, this is the one that I love the most, and it's gonna be kind of costly to get here. This is from what I did in 2017. This is my homage cover that I did by hand. This homage cover of Sensational She-Hulk #1.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes, I'm going to try to zoom in as close as possible. I actually did the hand drew in the issue on the 5th anniversary issue that you have there down there. I actually hand drew that into the actual image. And instead of saying that she rips up your comic books like in the other covers, she actually says this.
If you don't buy my comic book, I'm going to ask you to check out Enigma or AWF. That's awesome. ABC always closing. And Joe, you know what? I think the one that has the most value to it is the She-Hulk one, because there's a reason why we have very few copies of She-Hulk in stock at any given time, and another series, Wonder Woman. It's because of you. Joe will snake in like he's like an eagle, and as he comes in, you can hear the caw caw. As soon as I pitch any She-Hulk book, it just goes caw, and he just grabs it, and I gotta always stock up on Wonder Woman because of Joe. So that being said, I know personally from dealing with Joe how important that She-Hulk variant is. So Joe, just put a price on it. What if you're selling it, of course. What would you?
Well, right now I have it at 30, but I am willing to sign this away and give it to anybody who wants it for 45.
For 45. All right, folks, check it out. You guys are supporting an independent creator, and I'm going to tell you this right now. Joe keeps everything he gets for that book. So you are helping him continue to put out his series, and this stuff, getting this stuff printed up, that ain't cheap, and it's a lot of work. So Joe, tell us a little bit about what you got going on next. You were mentioning to me earlier that you were planning to go to the crowdfunding route for your latest issue.
Oh, for issue #7 of Amazonia is what's up next here. Yeah. I'm waiting for Corey Green to make himself available here. That is, unless Christine Brunson is available before him, but that's another bridge that we have to cross a little bit later here. But if you could go ahead and share the screen now.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and share that screen.
Actually, right here we have the full layout of Amazonia issue #7, which introduced a brand new villain to the mix here. We have the cover there. The inside cover, and normally what I do for the inside cover is that whatever was the last page there, that's how we go in. It's like previously in Amazonia, I think I started doing that starting issue #4, I believe, here with the title credits and everything. So you get to see what happened on the last page without having to go back to the previous issue. Because normally what I do is I have the mentality of try to start off the next book where the last book left off. So it's like I try to leave off on a cliffhanger and then I have to resolve that cliffhanger.
And what's really great about doing that too is it's a great way to start, because your cliffhanger is always at your last page, and you got something going that's going to keep people going. And oftentimes I notice a lot of creators, their page 1 is usually like a summary without any art or anything to pull the reader along. And my personal feeling is that when you open up a comic and you see that page 1 staring at you, you got to grab the reader by the throat and pull them into your story. Now with graphic novels, it's a little bit different, because graphic novels, it's like anybody who's reading your graphic novel is committed. straight up. If someone's reading your graphic novel, they're committed. With single issues, it's a little bit more tricky because you got to hook them right away. So I think this is a really great idea because it brings everybody up to speed. So you don't feel like you're behind on the book, and it's less jargon in the beginning. You see, here's the last page of the last issue. That we can tell just from looking at the art here that someone's in danger, and there's tension.
And that is followed up by the very first page here of quick thinking and everything. Him with his quick thinking, it's like, well, let me grab this. Let me aim this laser pointer at them and make it seems like somebody else is about to shoot them. Lines it up square on the forehead. They take off running, and then the thoughts of like, maybe there's more to what's going on here than what is being talked about here. I need to let in this case, Elisa and Karen Welsh, her partner, know what's really going on behind the scenes here. They might be in more danger than what is being asked of them. So, those type of things make people want to come back and keeps them involved in the story. There's not going to be anything that's jarring for them at that point. And it's like, I believe in subplots, and I believe in stories within stories too. So that's why I said this Amazonia series is very character driven, more so than anything else.
So what would you say are your biggest inspiration? Who are your biggest inspirations for sequential artwork? Because like I said earlier, you're a comic book reading connoisseur. And I say
that's the thing. I'm not a big comic book art fan. I mean, I like different artists, but I follow more of the writing and how the storytelling is here. So I grew up being a Chris Claremont fan. I ended up befriending people like Dan Slott, who kind of got me more focused in. When I first started out with that Amazonia #1, he kind of gave me like tips and everything. So when I came out with 2 and 3, I gave it to him as a thank you. And then when I came back the following year, he remembered what I wrote. So that tells me a lot. If they remember what you wrote a year later and know exactly who you are and associate that, you're doing a great thing. Especially those professionals who are working for the big two.
I agree with that 100%. And that was actually something I remember from college. I went to Columbia College in Chicago, and I was in the fiction writing department. And one of the things that we did, our classes were very long. They were like 4-hour long classes. And it would be like 7:45 in the morning, and we'd all be sitting in the semicircle. Everybody's tired, everybody's got their coffee. And the first thing that the teacher asked us to do, or the instructor had us do, is do recall. Like, remember the stories that were read last week. Take a segment from all of them. And of course, everybody wants to remember their story, wants someone else to remember their story. And, you got to just think back, because there's always something when you're listening to other people read, or when you're reading yourself, there's always something you remember that, kind of like, and it's considered, that's how they consider whether or not you're doing a good job of storytelling, is if you can remember the scene good enough to recreate it in your own mind in front of everybody and everything. So, the fact that anybody remembers anything you wrote, I'll be honest with you, Joe, I don't think anybody who buys these shit actually reads it. I mean,
why is that? Why is that? Because it's like, I have read the first 4 issues.
Right. And
I find it interesting, but I cannot, like you said, I cannot put it back to like one scene.
Right. And
like most of the times, most people with the Amazonia series does not come back to one particular issue until issue 5 came out. People remember issue 5. And the reason why people remember issue 5, because of the simple fact that they relate to the backstory. There's something in that backstory that people related to, and they just remember that.
Yeah. the other thing too is the reason why I feel like the reason why I feel this way is because, you know, when we buy comics, there's so many of them, and we get these big piles of comics that we got to get through and find the time to actually read. And it's funny because, you know, I know people who have picked up my stuff, but I see a lot of people at conventions and they're like, I got your stuff, but I haven't read it yet. And it's like, you know, they're someone who may have bought it last year, you know? And of course, when they do read it, then it's like, oh, cool. You know, then they're on board for it. But, you know, that's the thing. It's like, I think a lot of what we do is also contingent on the fact that people are buying to support. They want to read. They have the intent to read. They have to have the time to read too, you know? And so it's like when you find that and it all comes together, that's, you know, that's what, that's the magic, is when you meet someone who actually does read your stuff. Because once you told me you read the first 4 issues of my book, I was like, oh, you did? Oh my God. Did you like it? Oh my God. Like, and then
the biggest compliment you could ever get at a show. It's like, hey, yeah, I got your stuff the last time. Well, did you like it? Well, I'm here to get the next issue. Really?
Yeah.
Here it
is. Hook it up right now. And you know, that's the thing too. Like, I had a really great experience one time. I was at Emerald City Comic Con and I was pitching Eastern Shin. And it was there was a lot of foot traffic just down in Artist Alley. It's Emerald City Comic Con. So I'm sitting there and I'm pitching, and you know, there's this one girl who walks by and she looks over at my booth and she's like, I got that book. And I'm like, you did? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, what'd you think of it? And she looks at me and she's like, eh. And I started and I thought that was great. I was like, you know what? At least she was honest. You know,
yes.
In the middle, like while I was trying to close a couple people, and of course they walked away. They didn't buy it. But you know, the point is like, you know, you come across all kinds of people at conventions, and there's so many stories. You know, you're interacting with so many different people. You know, and it's such an amazing experience. I absolutely love Comic-Con. Yeah. So tell me, what else can we expect? When can we expect to see issue 7 of Amazonia done?
Just shortly before C2E2 this year. So we're looking at kickstarting probably in, keeping our fingers crossed, October. Prior to releasing it in November. If you didn't do the October campaign, you could get it in person directly from the store by December. So we got October shipped out in November, or at the least December at C2E2.
Well, Joe, I'm going to tell you something right now. We want to be one of the shops that stocks issue 7 for sure. So when you go live with your Kickstarter, you let me know. And you and I are very much intertwined in this regard, because I'm also hoping to get the next issue of Eastern Shin done at the time of C2E2. That's really where I want to launch the book. So I really hope we can make it there. That's one of the primary goals I have. And I hope we can do it at the same time. We should find some way to kind of work off, cross over with each other. Yeah. And once again, guys, if someone wanted to just pick up issue 1 of Amazonia just to see if it was, you know, to their liking, would you be willing to? Is it okay for me to sell this at cover price?
Yeah, actually sell it for $3.
$3. We're gonna knock 50 cents off. You folks want to try Amazonia right now? Number 1, you get it signed with the COA for just $3. You call it as you see it, and I got you covered on issue 1 of Amazonia right here, right now on Virtual Signings with Onrie, the live event show. And we got exactly 10 minutes left. So this is going to make a
Actually, I kind of wish that you had the 10th anniversary number 1, because that's where I would actually start on with. But and speaking of 10th anniversary number 1, another variant here. This is the Elaine Haygood variant cover. Elaine is the actual editor for this book. So this is her variant cover. We have Christine Brunson's variant cover for the 10th anniversary edition here, the version cover. And then we actually have the homage cover for the original issue number 1.
We have a claim on Amazonia #1. This is going over to Josh Kronfeld. Josh, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Really
yes.
Get it. Josh is the man. And folks who are going to be tuning in later on, because we have this happen all the time, Joe, people will come on later on and they'll watch us at a later point. But not only that, we're coming into the final 10 minutes of this episode, but have no fear. Joe is going to be back on with me on the EXP. That's the comic book shopping experience at 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Central, and 7 p.m. Eastern. And you guys will be able – we're going to just keep going back and forth with the conversation, because I honestly have to say, so far, Joe, you have learning your story, and I think we're just hitting
the tip of the iceberg of it.
Quite honest. I really want to hear about what kept you going, because I remember you were like, remind me to tell you that story. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I almost gave up on Amazonia. I could tell this kind of sort of real quickly, but
no, let's hold it off. Let's hold it off. Mm-hmm. I want to wait so that we got something. We got folks on board for the next episode. And that way, I think it'll be more fun.
It has to be detailed, because there were other factors that went into play, almost giving up on Amazonia. There was some factors that were there, and it weighed heavily on me. But I'm glad that I made the decision that I made to stick with it.
That's a very powerful statement. I can't tell you, and guys, just anybody who understands what making comics is, especially creator-owned comics, you will always come to a point when you're like, am I doing this right? Should I quit? Is this it? And I'll tell you something that Jesse James told me when he came on my show, Live with Onrie, a couple back in winter of 2020. What he said to me was, you're not out until you decide you're out. So if you're in, you're in, and you're going to keep going, and you'll find a way to stay in, because that's just a natural thing. And Joe, just seeing your perseverance, I've seen you and I have been doing this the same amount of time. We've been working in comics for the same amount of time. We have the same experience in terms of how much time, how many hours we put in. We have very different experiences, of course, but I always, that's what I love about chatting with you, is that I'm learning. I'm consistent, and it's time for that table to turn, because most of the time you're sitting there patiently watching us pitch comics and do stuff, but it's another story to like really hear about what goes into your process. I think that's really what's awesome. So do you got any other events coming up? Any store signings? Any smaller?
Not really store signings, but I am going to be a part of CrownCom 13 this weekend. I have a 4 o'clock Central Time, 5 o'clock Eastern panel that I'm supposed to be a part of. Well, actually, it's just pretty much myself, me doing pretty much what I'm doing here, pitching Amazonia primetime Saturday night in AWF for 30 minutes here. So I got a whole 30-minute block on CrownCom 13. That's going to be on YouTube, up under the YouTube channel of Comics Talk with Pops Van Sant. Now, I do have 2 other shows this weekend. One right after the experience of episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher, where I'm actually promoting and helping Krista Grant promote her book Lure, which is currently out there on Indiegogo. And then on Saturday, which is our normal showtime, 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern, we're going to have Grant Linker on here talking about his book Beowulf, and he takes a different aspect of that character. So I'm looking forward to that.
Spin on everything. Now, Joe, another thing I wanted to mention, I wanted you to talk about, and I guess we'll have to talk about this when we get on the XP, but we might as well now. I think this we have enough time for. Tell me about AWF prime time here. This is
prime time Saturday night. Prime time Saturday night. Now, this is how much I listen to my fans. When we came out with AWF, people were complaining that there was not enough pro wrestling in that book. So what I ended up doing is like I ended up splitting the difference. It's like, you know what? I cannot write a series where you have all the pro wrestling and what's going on in the background all at the same time because I'm doing a character driven story here at AWF. So what's the best thing to do? Come out with a series that mimics like a Monday Night Raw or AEW, Dynamite, or if you remember uh, the old school WCW Nitro and Thunder, have a book that mimics that from top to bottom, which has a complete match card, including main events and everything, and just make it work as a actual television broadcast. And that's what I did with Primetime Saturday Night. Now, issue number one starts out from a quote unquote fictional pay-per-view, which I actually went back and redid in issue number 0, which you have there. You should have an issue 0 as well.
Yes, I do have an issue 0, I believe.
So I went back and actually told, that's one of the version covers of issue number 0. So in issue number 0, I went back and told everybody what actually happened in that pay-per-view. So you could actually pick up that series from issue number 1 or issue number 0, and you have a complete story. Now, the 4 issues that you have there is the first complete story arc. So when I start issue number 4, we're moving into the next story arc, which is the Golden Age, and we're going to have introduced new wrestlers, more in-ring drama and everything, and you're going to like it. If you're a fan of Monday Night Raw, AEW Dynamite, TNA Impact, you're going to love this book, especially if you love female wrestling, because there's no male wrestlers whatsoever. It's pretty much a 100% female superpower pro wrestling federation.
And each one's going for $5, I see, right? Is that
that is correct. That's the regular cover price here, except for the version covers. The version covers are $20.
Okay, so this is going for 20. This
that's 20.
And
you should have a normal number 02, which is $5.
Yes, I do. Okay.
Yes.
So anybody who wants to claim
that's the Juggernaut variant that you got there.
Oh, that's another one.
That's another $20 book. You should have another number
0.
Are
not selling off a $20 book for $5, folks.
That one should look like this. You should have one of these.
Yes, I do have one. Okay, so yeah. I got them all here, folks, and they all come with the COAs. You can get all 4 of them for $20. All 4 for 20.
Now,
signed by Joe.
Yes, signed by me. Now we got some bombshell comics version of it, but they're not how can I say, not for kids version covers of it that will go for $30. I want to show them, but I can't because we're PG here.
Yeah, absolutely. But I wanted to say something. Since Josh Kronfeld got that issue, he actually won the prize.
The prize.
So what?
You have to show the prize.
Well, Joe, you are our guest, so you get to decide. Does he get Olga, Katya, or Svetlana?
Well, ask him is he a fan of sushi?
All right, Svetlana it is.
Congratulations, you just won a date with a free Russian woman. Settle in, folks. This one's a keeper. Meet Svetlana. She will break you in two if you give her dirty looks. She enjoys hard labor in the sun, dreams of communism taking a big dump on capitalism, and eating sushi before the fish is dead on the living room floor. I bet you wish you got that free Marvel or DC comic now, don't you?
Mike says there is no good choice.
Yes. No. Now, should we let people in on it's like that is one of the spins when you actually buy for Onrie and Kevin. So that is one of those dates that you can get here. Of course, it never gets old. It never gets old.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you've inspired me to do Tatiana. But I will say this: we're gonna have to end right now because I got to get everybody's books out, including yours, to the post office. But anybody who's interested in picking up Joe's books will have another experience to do it on the experience in just 2 hours at 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Central, and 7 p.m. Eastern. And we will be on there, and I will share a link and everything. Joe will be back with me, and if not, then we're gonna be pitching this. This is always going to be available on the Kickin' Show. And Joe, I want to thank you for coming on my channel. I will see you in just a couple hours here, and we're going to talk more about a prime time here. And I also want to talk more about your experiences working on Amazonia. So thank you so much.
No problem. I'm always here for you, bro. I'm always here for you.
You really are. I really appreciate that. Do me a favor, just hang out, in the backstage here. I'm going to close out the show real quick. So,
right.
Yes, thank you again. So, folks, thank you again for tuning in this afternoon. Today's been kind of a crazy day because I'm heading out to a convention tomorrow, so I've had to get that together, and then I also had to get all your stuff out. This is the first time I sat down today, so I'm excited. And I'm ready to shoot back up and get out there. We will see you in just 2 hours. All right, see you guys later.